For Montana East Regional News, this is Emily Boyles. Last broadcast, we spoke with Travis Kavulla, Public Service Commissioner for Eastern Montana. He is out here meeting with constituents. This broadcast, we're going to also speak with Commissioner Kavulla. Last broadcast, we focused on some of those mass utility issues. This time, we're going to talk about some of the personal services, such as the program called Link Up.
We have an interesting set of jurisdictions over the telecom industry. We do regulate pretty tightly CenturyLink, which many people will be familiar with, but we don't regulate, internet providers or cable companies, even though they provide voice service to a lot of people anymore. So it's an interesting dynamic that's happened there. One of the big issues that we've had recently is with universal service funding, which provides funding both for low-income families as well as for rural areas that have a very high cost of service. And something the Federal Communications Commission has done in a revision of its set of rules last year is really problematic for me, at least. It basically says, okay, we're not going to provide as much money for the development of broadband in rural areas, which has really allowed companies like Mid-Rivers and Niemont to build out extraordinarily in places like Circle and provide broadband to people who otherwise would have no internet capabilities at all. And the FCC has basically now said that era of funding those programs is going to be, in essence, coming to an end for some of the most rural places in Montana. And it's worrisome to me because companies like Mid-Rivers have made investments and they were counting on a lot of this money to come through. If that money doesn't come through, they will potentially have problems performing on their debt obligations for investments they've already made. Now, on the other hand, the federal government has come down and said, for another part of universal service funding, making sure that everyone has a phone, and phone access, that they're going to expand the eligibility for low-income consumers. And that's not a bad idea. Right now, if you are a recipient of Medicaid, if you are a recipient of food stamps, if you're under 135% of the poverty line, a variety of other things, you qualify for a lifeline discount. The problem with some of these discounts is that even people who are eligible for these programs already, before being aware that they are eligible for a subsidy, have managed to find room in their budget to buy phones. It's just like people who fall within the band of Medicaid can find money to, frankly, buy a television too oftentimes, and we don't consider giving them a subsidy for buying a television. So this program has some problems in my mind with the potential for eroding what already exists as a competitive market in telecom. The FCC has tried to take steps to make it to make sure that any kind of waste or abuse is reduced and eliminated by requiring annual recertifications of the people eligible for that program. But one of the problems is the phone company, someone like CenturyLink or Mid-Rivers, will send a notification to a customer telling them that they need to respond with eligibility documentation, and then they simply won't hear back from that customer. And they get automatically disenrolled from the program. They then get a phone bill for $50, $60, and they come to the Public Service Commission and say, oh my God, what's happened?
We will hear from Commissioner Kavulla about what has happened, as well as some issues around natural gas when we come back after this. Montana East Regional News with Emily Boyles is produced by Marks Group Broadcasting. You can listen weekdays in Glendive, Forsyth, Miles City, and Sidney, Williston, and Dickinson, North Dakota. Find Montana East Regional News on television on KXGN CBS and KXGN NBC. You can also keep up with breaking news and great regional events. Find Emily Boyles on Twitter and Facebook.
Welcome to your daily dose of reality. Today's update remembers things you can't believe used to be cool. The mullet? Strike one. Parachute pants? Strike two. And strike three. I can't even look at it. It's the spit cup. Chew on this. Smokeless isn't safe. And what used to be macho is just not.
If you're just joining us, I'm speaking with Travis Kavulla, Public Service Commissioner for our region. Commissioner Kavulla, your office tells me that more than half of the individuals that were on the Link Up program were disqualified simply because they did not return their paperwork. And of those that did, which is more than 6,000, only 37 of those 6,000 were no longer eligible.
That's right. I mean, the people on this program, by and large, are in fact eligible for the program. And, it was a sad reality that we had to go through this Chinese fire drill where people were automatically disenrolled because of a fear of waste, fraud, and abuse, a fear that is much more likely to be a reality, incidentally, in large urban centers in the United States than it is in Montana, where we have been pretty strict about keeping this program under control. But, as usual, the federal government has created a one-size-fits-all metric that inconveniences people in rural areas who are following the rules, even while its real attempt is to crack down on urban areas where there is a documented pattern of not following the rules. So, we're on top of that, even though 50% of people did get automatically disenrolled from this program. Once they receive their first phone bill, they come to their phone company. And I know I've done research on a couple of the phone companies in Montana, and their enrollment levels are, again, up past 90% at this level for two examples that I know about. But that's required, in the end, a lot more manpower on the part of those phone companies. And, the people who were doing other things have to, basically go out into the field everywhere from rural areas to Indian reservations to towns like Glendive, and make sure that their customers are signing back up for this program and don't fall between the cracks.
Very good. Anything else?
Well, just one thing. I would say a little bit more about natural gas. I guess it's unfortunate that we have, we've got all-time low prices for natural gas, and that's a good thing for consumers. People's home heating bills are way down, but it also leads to some economic development issues. I mean, we're all aware of the problem with flaring gas off of oil wells in eastern Montana and western North Dakota. That's just not a good thing to be doing. You're burning off this valuable natural gas rather than putting it to some productive use, but the economics of it simply don't work out. I do think over time, we've seen a trend in the United States where sadly coal-fired electrical generation is dropping off because of a lot of heavy-handed EPA regulations. That's not good public policy, but whether or not it's good public policy, it's going to create a real demand to replace that generation, and it'll probably be replaced by natural gas-fired generation because that's a solid, reliable baseload thing. As you see possibly liquid natural gas exports to other countries, as you see maybe vehicle fleets shifting to natural gas rather than gasoline or diesel, you're really going to see an increased demand for natural gas that responds to the low price of natural gas supply right now. And that's ultimately going to bring the price of natural gas up. So we need to be careful and thinking in essence in advance about how we capture some of that natural gas from the oil play as well and put it to productive use when it does become economical to do so, because we just can't. Natural gas at these prices is not going to continue indefinitely. And the only other thing I'd add is, we're the Public Service Commission and we care about the public. If you have a complaint about one of your utilities, a problem with your phone company, a problem with a pipeline company's land agents, I encourage you to contact us at the Public Service Commission. And my direct line you can reach me at is 406-444-6166. You're welcome to call at any time, and we'll try to get your problem solved for you.
And if you have a hot news story or news tip you'd like to share with us, you can email us at newsdesk@kxgn.com. For Montana East Regional News, this is Emily Boyle.